From Kainoa, like I said, I always take the inside line. What enables me to do that is just knowing the reefs. And easy, if you don't know the reefs, it's pretty simple. Look at the waves. Like I said, always focus on the deepest breaking wave, the furthest out breaking wave. So for once I get to Kainoa, I'm almost making my way like I'm gonna go. I'm pretty close to the windsock. I'm about where a lot of people would be turning to go into the windsock, and I kind of stay into that spot and go to about what I start to look at is right after Kainoa. What is that? Castles?
Yeah.
Castle Point, right? So are you all familiar with the reefs right there and how the waves break over there a little bit where the reef is? I tend to come right inside, and I tell you 100% of the time it's made. I've had guys gapping me probably like almost 100 yards by Kainoa, but they were so far out, they took that way outside line, but just because I was inside, when I came in, I just scooted right behind all the waves, all the surf, come into Publix first, right? I'm staying pretty inside there, and if there's no waves at like Queens and stuff, then I'll kind of go in where you would surf Queens almost, and I'd start making my way from there. Like I said, just keep looking at the ocean, look at the waves. If there isn't any, it's almost best to get inside as soon as possible, because at that period of time, we all paddled our okoles off, and then you got the wind to deal with at the end. Everybody's kind of fading out, and if these guys got to make their turns late in the game, then they're all pretty much toasted, and their mind's going to go, oh my God, why is the wind so strong? So if you start doing that to yourself earlier, gives yourself an advantage. You kind of doing this the whole time. You're not taking a straight line. You don't want to go in like this and then go like this. You're just kind of making it nice and slow. You're doing this, and what you'll see is the guys that are here, you're going to go nice and slow, nice and slow, nice and slow. These guys are going, oh, now they're trying to catch you. I mean, it's pretty neat. It bends, yeah. Almost to Portlock. I mean, almost to Publix, right? Yeah.
And then straight down by Queens.
If I catch waves over there, so like even all the way from Lighthouse, I'll catch a wave that actually slings you to Sleepy Hollows. But you gotta figure out if that's the risk you want to take. Of course, have a leash and everything and be prepared. But if you know those reefs, use them to your advantage. Surf as many spots as you can, you know. And then once you get to like pretty much right before Fort Durusi, what is that, like pops and threes or whatever, you catch waves already and go in. Get way inside there, because you can come out where that jetty is by Outrigger. You can get right next to that jetty and be inside, and you're good to go.
Buildings will help too with the wind.
Yeah, and the buildings at that point, even though the wind is offshore, you won't feel, if you come inside early enough, you won't feel it, but if you're staying way out there, the buildings block it, but the wind still, what it's doing is the buildings here, the winds are kind of coming around and out, but you're going to feel it more on the outside than you will on the inside. So if you make your way inside early, then these guys because they're taking wide turns. They're almost like at the channel markers of Bowls, right? That last big, they're almost directly like that. And then they got like a good 100 yards to come in. It's like, it's nuts, you know? So you'll make up ground staying inside. But like I said, a lot of it is jockey, like try to figure it out. Just look at people that are in front of you and start gauging if you're making ground or if you're not. You know, and in that sense, of course, like I'm always watching like this guy stroking hard, and so I start to stroke with him to see if it gets me somewhere. But if I'm stroking at the same rate as him and I'm making ground, then I know I'm good to go. And sometimes it's just bumps too. There are like 3 lines you guys talk about, that inside, the middle, and then the outside line. That's kind of a big thing with when you have a unlimited size board, you know, with a rudder, then you can play that game. If you're on a fixed fin board, don't concern yourself so much with going way outside or in the middle. Where do I be? You're gonna have a small playing area just because that's what your board will allow you to do. You're gonna have to do a lot more steering and whatnot out there than you would on the inside necessarily. So it's like if you take a pretty fine lines, I'd say stick to one line at the beginning, and as you develop, then go and start playing with other lines. But you can do, because if you get too confused, if you start going, oh, I don't feel like I'm moving here, and go out there and going out here, like Robert said, the fastest point from A to B is in a straight line. Once you start curving it, and if you're not efficient with the swell riding, then it's going to take a lot longer, obviously. So I say just kind of feel those things out, and that's probably the best thing for me.
When you get to pops, are you like staying like inside the break at pops, or are you running the outside?
Yeah, I'm kind of like, you know, by the time I get to pops, I'm probably already catching waves all the way from like, what is it, threes and everything before it. Yeah. I'm probably already pretty close to the inside, so where the...
Because last year I got there and I had to make a choice. I was like, okay, do I go inside or outside? And then so I went inside, and it sort of worked out, but like there was times where it didn't really work out.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering which way you go.
I always go inside, and the reason being is I'm just more confident in my ability to surf waves and to get through them if I have to. But also just growing up surfing all over there, I know exactly what it's gonna do. So like, you know, a little bit after, right after lighthouses, you see swells that are breaking outside, right? Well, it's funny because it could be breaking way outside, but it dies. It dies and it gets mushy like this, and it kind of just holds, and then it stops for a good, like, there's like a 5-yard gap where it's just nothing, and then it reforms again. I always come into that, usually a lot of the time I'll come into that and make up so much ground because these guys are so worried about getting cleaned out on those big waves out there. They don't realize that it's kind of, there's a little weird safe zone in here. And so they go way outside that. That's kind of where I start to make the ground because they're going way outside. They see the waves breaking and they go, oh, I'm going to get way away from it. And if you're over here, of course, like I said, they still got this distance to cover on you. So even though there's a gap like that, they still got to make a turn and you're already making your turns. So I definitely, of course, start to look for those things to be aware of. And as far as surfing those areas go, at Publix, I try to catch one and I'll go like, I'll probably be 100 yards away from walls, but still like right outside of Queens. And then I'll just start to take that line and catch what I can. As you start to get further down, you can go with a higher tide, you can start to go way in already after Queens and canoes, and you can start to make your way inside there. And like I said, I'm almost hitting the jetty that comes out of Outrigger Reef right before Fort Ducey. I'm like going right past the jetty like this, and then inside of it, and kind of take the beach in, you know, and let that water that pushes along the beach take me. So, and that actually worked for me good last year. So with no surf, it was like perfect. It really worked out.
Yeah, because last year I wasn't super inside, but I was fairly inside, and I had the same thing. There were like girls like destroying me on the outside, and then I was like on the inside. I was like,
I know, we just scooted away. I had the same thing. Same thing for me. I scooted away on. I think Rob Rojas was. And were you paddling next to Rob Rojas? Were you?
No, because I followed Edmund. I was like, follow the old Hawaiian guy.
You guys were all in. Yeah, I saw Edmund and he stayed outside. Yep. Because I saw you and I saw you. That's right. Because I saw you guys. I saw your group, and I was like, oh, these guys got distance on me. But as I made my way in,
Front, and I just snuck in, and I was like, well,
whoop, gotta move away from this pack. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you follow guys like Edmund and Herbie, and like, you know, it's like,
And Edmund actually really knows. I've got great stories about Edmund, but I move forward. I'm kind of scooting it. I'll try to scoot it even sometimes. Because sometimes you're in it and you're like, oh, I got to get in it. And all I do is just a little one of these and kind of pushing the board into it. And all of a sudden it just takes off.